Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having a fantastic day. Many of you have reached out to me for comments regarding Bioware's recent announcement regarding the choices or lack of choices that will be imported into Veilguard. I actually spoke about this at length last night during my live stream, so I'm just going to take out that conversation, put it in this video, and put some footage from some trailers that BioWare has dropped recently on top of it. So you're welcome to just listen if you choose. Keep in mind, again, this will have trailers that BioWare has dropped. Some people have felt like those trailers were too spoilery. So if you were trying to completely avoid seeing anything that might spoil the game for you, definitely, again, just listen to this video. Don't watch it. If you're concerned about spoilers from previous Dragon Age games as well, you might not want to watch this because I do kind of delve into some of the specific decisions that I feel like are impactful and I believe should be transferred into the game. So, with all that being said, hope you all enjoy this video. Take care. So I wanted to make a video about this. Unfortunately, I had so many things going on with my daughter today. I didn't have the chance. Um, I don't say this lightly. I don't feel like I've ever said this about a developer before. And I still plan to play Veilguard. I think there's still a chance for Veilguard to be a good game, all that kind of stuff. In my personal opinion, what Bioware announced regarding the limited Dragon Age choices is absolutely a betrayal. It's a betrayal of the fans. And to be frank with you, I feel like it's a betrayal of the content creators that they invited up there to play the game and deliver information about the game, right? So, first, what is it, right? BioWare did an article with IGN where they announced that there's really only three decisions that are going to transfer over from previous games into Veilguard. So you could choose who you romanced, whether or not you disbanded the Inquisition, and whether you vowed to stop Solus or save him. Those are the only three decisions that you can carry over from Inquisition. Now, their reasoning for that is they did not want to have you make fluff decisions, right? So basically, everything that you decide to keep, they wanted to make sure that there would actually be reactivity for it. And they feel like they've been very careful about not doing anything that would necessarily disrespect or make something canon that would go against a decision that you have made. But their feeling was they wanted to focus on reactivity within the choices that you make in Veilguard. They did not want to have to focus on reactivity of the choices that you made in previous games. Sometimes it's not what you do, it's how you do it. All right. Is it necessarily a betrayal that they've went this route? To me, I would have been frustrated with them going this route regardless. There's been a lot of discussion about what defines Dragon Age. What defines a Dragon Age game? In my opinion, a lot of that focus has been on stuff that doesn't really matter, that I don't see as core to the experience. A lot of the focus has been on, choices that you can make during character creation, how dark the game is, stuff like that. Whereas when I look at it, Dragon Age has been a different game each time. It's gotten steadily less dark. It's gotten steadily more inclusive, and adding things that, some parts of some gamers don't want to see included in their games. Like, to me, that's not what's core to the experience. What's core to the experience, in my opinion, is the world and the characters. In each, more than any other video game series, Dragon Age allowed you to craft your own world. And everybody who played that game, who played Origins, who played Dragon Age 2, who played Inquisition, they were able to continue to make progress in a world that was completely their own. And then you would get cameos from characters in previous games, and those cameos could be radically different based upon the decisions that you had made in previous games, right? So to me, those two aspects are what's really core to the experience and what separates Dragon Age from just about any other experience you can have in gaming. Now, can you make another Dragon Age game and try to wipe the slate clean and say, you know what, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to go in a completely different direction? Sure, sure, you can. But to me, you have to say that up front. It's like when they were selling Mass Effect Andromeda, right? They made it clear right from the jump. Shepard's story is over. We're not going backwards. We're going forwards in a completely new direction and doing something completely different. That's not what BioWare has. That's not what BioWare did. That's not what BioWare sold. BioWare sold a continuation of everything you loved about Dragon Age. And they were people on a mass level making it clear that they were replaying the games, refamiliarizing themselves with all of the decisions in anticipation of being able to transfer that stuff or having the opportunity to have some of those decisions reflected in the game. BioWare knew this. There's no way they didn't know this. I find it incredibly disrespectful and a betrayal of the fandom that BioWare waited to tell people that these choices were going to be so limited until after people put in their pre-orders. And to be frank, not only did they not do it until after pre-orders were put in, but they waited until after EA held their Investors Day. I don't know how many people caught that, but EA had an Investors Day, I think it was last week or the week before, like very, very recently, where the president of EA announced, hey, pre-order numbers for Veilguard are very strong. The press for Veilguard is very, very strong. This game is on track with our financial expectations. After that occurs, then all of a sudden they do this article saying, hey, this part of the series that has been central to all of the previous games, we're not going to have it in there. To me, that's how I look at it. To me, I look at it as we waited until we got your money, or we waited until we were at least able to announce that we got your money. And then they snuck in this part. I think that's shady as hell. I think that's shady as hell. I think that's it's kind of scumbaggery. It's kind of scumbaggery, to be honest with you. And I say it's a betrayal of the content creators that they had come up to see the game, because you had all these people come up and play the game and then say all these wonderful things about the game, right? And you refrained from telling them a really, really core, crucial aspect of this experience that is wildly different from any other Dragon Age we've ever played. Something that for anybody who was a fan of the series, would impact their purchasing decision, would impact how they felt about the game. You refrained from telling that to all these people. And when they came back, there were all these stories about these folks are bought. These folks are shills. These folks, they're just regurgitating what BioWare wants them to say. And these content creators, from what I saw, did the very best job they could of just trying to speak on the game in a way that was authentic to their experience and provide a realistic view of what the game is really like. And then for you to follow up with this crucial information that really has changed the perception of a lot of people, not necessarily convinced them not to buy it, but certainly significantly changed what type of experience they expect to have, to not share that information, to purposefully refrain from providing it to the creators who came there, I think that's messed up. I think that's really, really messed up. And frankly, you can see that in the reactions to many of the creators who actually went up there. I'm not going to drop names, but the videos are out there. They're all shocked. They're all shocked. They're pretty much all disappointed. They're pretty much all like, wow, I didn't expect for it to be so limited. This is crazy for a Dragon Age game. It's never been this limited before, yada, yada, yada. And to be honest with you, Bioware provided reasons for why they did this that in many cases I found to be insulting. I found it to be really, really insulting. There was conversations about, well, new players might have been overwhelmed with a whole bunch of choices about what they could select for previous games, which is garbage because there's always been a canon option, a default option where you could ignore the ability to import previous choices and head straight into the game if that's what you wanted to do. So you can miss me with that. I forgot what the article was, but one of the developers was like, well, if there's too many cameos, if you use a character as a cameo, it could take away from their story. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? What audience do you feel like you're talking to? All right, you're not talking to a bunch of Halo fans. You're not talking to a bunch of Call of Duty fans. All right, you're talking to people who love Dragon Age. The cameos from characters that came from previous games are a core part of the experience. Alistair's his time through the game, his character arc wildly changes based on your decisions, and you see that occur through the cameos. Same with Logain, same with Morgan. Like, the cameos are central to the Dragon Age experience. You can't pull the wool over our eyes and try to say that now all of a sudden cameos are a bad thing. That's crazy. That's crazy. And I think what really hurts the most about the entire situation is that it almost feels like, and I hate to say this, I have not been one of these people saying it, but that's the way I'm always going to speak honestly. It's the way I feel about it right now. It almost feels like Dragon Age is being made by a developer who didn't really want to make a Dragon Age game. Don't tell me that it's hard. I know that it's hard. Making a game in general is hard. The manner in which you had to make a Dragon Age game is hard, but that difficulty is what made the series distinctive. What you're doing now, basically making all the previous games irrelevant, and then just saying, all right, you'll just deal with the choices you make in game, basically makes it another RPG like any other game. It basically makes it might as well be Cyberpunk. That's kind of where I'm sitting at with it. It might as well just be Cyberpunk. It might as well just be Witcher. Because this is not Dragon Age. Being able to bring in your world, your experiences is core to Dragon Age. I've seen a lot of people online, and I'm not gonna call them what I want to call them, but I think it's crazy to see people caping for Bioware about this. Seen a lot of people online trying to say, well, if you really think about it, none of the previous decisions you made in Dragon Age 1 or 2, or really throughout Inquisition, since you only have a couple of choices in Inquisition, none of those decisions actually matter for what's happening in Veilguard. Because in Veilguard, you're in Tevinter, you're in the north. And in all those other games, you're in the south. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. It's insane to say it doesn't matter whether or not we created an old guy baby with Morgan. What's going on with our Grey Warden has been hinted at since the first game. It is still not resolved what happened to our Grey Warden, especially if he stepped through the Illuvian with Morgan. How are you going to say that doesn't matter? How are you going to say that our Grey Warden and either Alistair or Logain or Stroud don't show up and come to help if a full all-out on blight occurs? How does that make sense? How does it make sense that we're finally into Winter, which has this massive, massive direct conflict with the Chantry? And you would think that that would be coming to a head, or we get a lot more information about that. How does it not matter who the Divine is? How? How is that just irrelevant? How is it that we can be in this game where we're finally in close proximity to the Qunari, and we all know that Sten is supposed to be the military leader of the Qunari now? How is he not there? How does what happened with him in the first game, how does that not matter? Like, I could go on. I could honestly go on. There is a whole list of things that you have done in the previous games that absolutely matter in this game. And to be frank, in all three games, even though you're always in the South, Tevinter has a heavy presence in all of these games. You are fighting people from Tevinter all the time. Tevinter is attempting to exert its influence on the South all the time. So now that we're up in the North, why wouldn't we see examples of the South and the people that we know in the South attempting to exert their influence over the North? It doesn't make sense. All the way around, it doesn't make sense. And it's extremely disappointing to see Bioware go down this route. That's not to say the game is going to be trash. That's not to say that I'm upset the game is even being created. That's certainly not to say that I'm not going to play it. I'm going to play it. I'm going to play it, and to the best of my ability, I'm going to review it fairly. I'm going to review it as the game that it is. But I'm also going to be straight up and honest about it. This is a betrayal. This is a betrayal, and it's sad. I think they're going to get away with it. I've seen a couple of comments from you all saying that you feel like this is going to impact their numbers. I don't think it will. I don't think it will. I think, it takes a lot for people to cancel their pre-orders. It takes a lot for people to walk back a purchasing decision that they've made. And on top of that, it's the first Dragon Age game in 10 years. And on top of that, I feel like it's become a real central point in the cultural war occurring in the video game sphere right now. There's been so much vitriol, so many people trying to tear down people for liking this game, that I feel like a lot of the fans feel like they have to make a point. Feel like they have to purchase the game to make it clear, like, look, you bigots cannot dictate what games do and do not get created. And so I feel like due to all of that, this game, I don't think Bioware is going to suffer a punishment for this, even though, to be honest with you, on a lot of levels, I feel like they should. I don't know how they would be punished without also punishing the studio in a way that would make Dragon Age games no longer able to be created. So I think it's unfortunate. I think they're absolutely going to get away with it. So all I could just say is the truth. This was messed up. This was messed up. It was a slap in the face to the Dragon Age fans. I'm really, really sorry to see Bioware do this. And I hope this isn't reflective of the overall experience we're about to get in the game. I feel like the fact that they're kind of wiping the slate clean, I feel like this, knowing this now, it makes sense why they got rid of Mary Kirby and all of those old school writers. They're like, we don't care about what you all have done. What you all have done has nothing to do with the game we're creating. And now I definitely believe that they're killing Varric. They're absolutely killing Varric. They're ignoring everything you did before, killing Varric and starting off completely fresh. And again, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. If you tell people up front, look at this as a reboot. Look at this as we are wiping the slate clean and we're going to finish our Solas' story, but this is really about a brand new journey of Dragon Age. If you say that up front and give people that information when they're making a purchasing decision, yes, I would be hurt to find that out, but I'd be taking that information completely differently. Completely differently. I'd be like, all right, it's not what I would have liked them to do, but they're doing it. Let's go ahead and just move forward and look at the game for what it is. But you have spent months, really years, but the hype train has really been rolling the last few months, basically telling people this is a continuation. So, no, I don't honor the way you just popped this in on us. Absolutely, Skeleton. That's the other thing. It's not like there are a ton of decisions you can import in the keep for Inquisition that really have no impact on the game. I would absolutely understand if they said, hey, we only want to include decisions that have reactivity in the game. So you're going to get 3 to 5 for Origins, 3 to 5 for 2, 3 to 5 for Inquisition, and then that's it. I understand that. But by giving us only 3 decisions in Inquisition and then leaving out critical decisions that you've made throughout the series, I'm not buying it. How are you not able to choose whether or not you have an old god baby? How are you not able to choose whether or not you drank from the well? How is that not a decision that has reactivity? That's insane. It's insane that whether or not you drank from the well is irrelevant. How? How, Sway? How? This is the ending of the chat that says, with the fall of the elven gods, shouldn't all the protagonists across all the games, if alive, be present? That's the way I feel, Giovanni. To me, this seems like some Avengers type of shit. This seems like something where, hey, everybody should be jumping in. This does not seem like the type of situation where, like, all right, y'all, we should be scaling back and as few people show up as possible. Like, that's wild, bro. That's wild. And what about all of the people that are probably alive at the end of your playthrough who either directly said that they're going to Deventer or it just makes sense that they show up at Deventer? What about Shale? Shale is supposed to be in Deventer. Giant Golem, can't miss her. What about Anders? A lot of people let Anders go. A lot of people sided with the mages. It was like, you know what, Anders, I wouldn't have done it, but I ain't gonna kill you for it. Anders would clearly run to Deventer. Clearly, Deventer is the only place where he would be safe. And frankly, not just safe, celebrated. And he's a Grey Warden. Anders has to be there. Like, it wouldn't make sense for Anders not to be there. Like, come on, man. Come on. Come on. What about all the Grey Wardens and Awakenings? What about the Architect? The Architect doesn't matter? The Architect is irrelevant to this whole story. How? How, Sway? No. No, no, no.